My favourite part about all civilization games is that the world changes every time. Always a unique, random generated map waiting to be explored. And this exploration, this discovery, is what kept me playing Civ even to this day. But I don't get that anymore with Total War. Even with the new historical titles, because I know what is round the corner. Age of Discovery Total War will be the perfect title to change that level of expectation. This is What Do We Want? A series that looks into possible Total War titles and breaks them down into a basic theory of how myself and the community want to see it. Age of Discovery would have to release with an accurate map of the world. I am usually against world maps, believing it would take far too long to conquer and risk the game looking too blocky, but with Age of Discovery, I think that is a must. This map must really take advantage of the fog of war. For example, if you play Portugal, then India is completely covered by the fog, cannot see anything, but if you play as an Indian faction, then it's the other way around. Portugal would still play, but you cannot see them, as you have not discovered them yet.
But MELKOR, how do you get people to colonize?
Well, in my opinion, there must be 3 boxes that needs to be ticked for this to work. 1. Europe must be difficult to expand into. 2. Uncolonised lands must be easy to expand into and profitable. 3. Colonising should be fun and fast. Let's start off with number 1. Historically, warring in Europe had become difficult. There were many multi-layered factors that had to be taken into account by this point. Unlike the medieval world, wars were deadlier, alliances were stronger. Most of the small, easy nations had already been annexed, and a balance of power had to be maintained. This needs to be portrayed in-game. As Castile, the player should not be able to just annex Portugal in one sweeping turn. As France, you cannot just give up colonising altogether and just build a European empire because it's quicker. Because then what's the point in having a game focused on colonising? What I want is a game that heavily punishes warring in Europe. Although there should be some reward, the game must point people in the direction of colonising. There's many ways to do this, but I feel the best is to go for the historical option. Have great powers in defensive alliances with each other, and actually willing to help each other out in a defensive war. Have the Pope forcing a balance of power. Have wars be super bloody and expensive. Meanwhile, that is not something you have to deal with when it comes to colonisation and colonial wars, even if it is against another European's colony. This should be a much smoother experience, with less rewards, yet the low cost makes it far more profitable and worthwhile. And only once a power is colonially dominant and has the backing of their colonies, can they afford to fight in European wars. This is what happened historically with Spain. Now, that is how Europe should be. This video is just more talking about the theory than doing all the little specific designs, so I won't go into any more detail here. Now, point 2. Uncolonised lands must be easy to expand into. The player and the AI should be able to settle new land and develop it with enough ease for it to be fun. Of course, disaster can always strike, but these disasters cannot be campaign breaking. This idea may be moving a little too much away from Total War, but I really believe cities should be foundable in unique locations and not preset, of course with limits. But it would be interesting to find settlements on the coast that you want to focus on fishing, or settlements near iron if you want it to focus on mining, and settlements that are military based in strategic locations. This could really add a unique feel to this game and make it stand out from the other titles much more with colonization. This move, or one similar to it, is essential for a game like Age of Discovery, which would have settling new land as its main attraction. These colonies must be more like an investment. Expensive at first, yet incredibly valuable later into the game, and this can really help fix a problem Total War suffers from. The mid to late game is nowhere near as interesting as the start. When you first load in, you develop your nation and get set up, yet gradually you get so powerful that there's no longer any threat. Once the threat is removed, so is the satisfaction of achievement, as it becomes like playing in easy mode, whilst fighting battles that are identical to the last 100 fought previously. Age of Discovery could make the early game about colonization, and then, halfway through, the game takes a very different turn, and it suddenly becomes about fighting in Europe, prolonging the player's interest and engagement, as the player throughout is actually waiting for the later part of the game, because that's where a lot of the fun is that they cannot experience earlier. And finally, point 3. It must be fun, fast-paced and worthwhile. The truth is, historically, settling new land was a very slow process that would take hundreds of years. What the game needs to do is sway away from historical accuracy a little and speed up the process. Otherwise, the player will get bored of waiting and go into risky, detrimental European wars, just to be able to experience something. Colonizing should be something where you log on, start working on a settlement, and begin to see profit from it by the time you log out of the game, to give you a feeling of moving forwards and making progress. In the meantime, this feature should be full of interesting events and discovery quests to keep it entertaining. This should stop the player from clicking the end turn to simply skip a turn, and instead make them end turn to find out what is going to happen next. My last point is with the new world. Although I think there should be a normal new world of the Americas that is, very good, very detailed, I think this should be the first Total War game to release with a random map generator, and it would be for the new world. Now, if this is too complex for the devs to make, that's fine. There's an alternate solution. Have pre-made assets of land that can be chosen randomly and randomly stick together. Enough of these can make it look like a random generator. The game must also come with varying options as well. Normal new world, many islands, no new world, world is flat, many small islands, desert world, with also random settings that decide the cultures of those who inhabit it. Normal, empty, civilized, Atlanteans, for example. This should make the game feel incredibly fresh every time, and keep the player base high for most of the year. Of course, there's so much more that actually goes into game design than this. These videos are just very basic videos that looks into the basic theory of what we may want to see. There is so much more that I can say, and so much more that you will probably want to see, but not everything can be covered in just one video today. Please leave your own opinions down below, and please do subscribe to get notified of next week's, where we will be looking into Medieval 3 Total War. Check the community tab, as that is where you can make suggestions for Medieval 3 once I make the post, and your comments may be shown in video. Thank you to everyone who posted a comment for this one, they were all a big help. Check out my other episodes, but for now, hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.